Peace be upon you, Libras. I apologize. Okay. Let's go. I'm going to look a bit more in depth, so it's going to be a bit uncomfortable. Yeah. Strong emotion. It can cut both ways. Depends on how you yield it, how you manage it. Some excitement. Marriage. The impossible made possible. I do trust that you will be able to navigate. It's something that your heart truly desired, not at a conscience level, no matter how much you may have strategized who you thought yourself to be, or your partner, or how marriage should look like. And it's going to be unique. So there's no actual level of preparation, per se, that you could have had for this. But I believe it will come natural to you. That's my advice. One more. So this is for the single. The chair empty, someone is leaving your life. The fact that it came kind of reversed, the opposite may be true. There's definitely a renewal. And avoiding or escaping some form of a conflict, but this can also translate into dreading, being fearful, or being unaware of the change that you're currently traversing. While you're in the midst of it, you don't actually realize how much has changed. Only when you try to confront it with the past, once looking back, basically, soon. You don't expect it to move as fast. But either way, just because you don't see it or expect it, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Changes. Out of whatever may feel, you may be a bit conflicted. There's a resistance to change. General-wise, we tend to get comfortable even with the most painful or unpleasant of circumstances. We don't realize how problematic they are until change is presented to us, or a choice, basically, that calls for a choice, I would argue, whether you realize it or not. So don't feel that anyone is making choices for you. You're still going to be called to, show up, because this is going to be extremely important for you in your life. Marriage also means contracts, agreements, partnerships, signing of contracts, deals, covenants, vows, promises. So strong hate, anger. You were really angry about something here. The disgrace. And not aware of how problematic, how it was impacting or affecting you. Unprocessed passions, unfulfilled desires, and so on. Not being able to get what you wanted. That's why you were so angry. Yeah, you wanted what you wanted and you're going to have it. But it wasn't for your highest good. So it wasn't, again, the sensation of looking back. Things were not exactly as you experienced them to be, at least emotional-wise. Physical health-wise, they may translate to toxic behaviors, obsessive thinking, high blood pressure, health-wise, overindulging or overspending, excesses, untamed fires, frustration, a feeling of restriction and limitation. Bitterness, resentfulness, because of lack of understanding. What is this? What is this? What I'm feeling? You had to be confronted with a version of you that you never even, acknowledged or entertained as possible. This version of you, which is very unpleasant. It's shadow work, basically. It's facing your shadow. So, some aspects needed to be revealed in order for you to address it, alchemize, transcend. Ego. Again, lack of productivity, lack of being able to act on certain ideas, thoughts, inability to control one's impulses, jumping to conclusions, being reckless or impulsive, not able to properly assess your own environment, your opportunities, your resources, a false perception of yourself. You got stuck in some form of it, but I deserve this, but I gotta have this, but it's, it's me, I. There's obviously no social interaction nor concern for anything around you or your actual, even self-preservation wise, self-sustenance, providing for yourself, or making a genuine, comfortable life or living space, or just overall standard of living a lot better than what it was. So some form of a chaos ensued here. Very aggressive, actually. You were convinced to be in the right. I gotta have this. This is mine. This is what it's going to be. You couldn't even conceive that maybe you were in the wrong. That maybe the fact that it's denied to you is the clear indication of you needing to move on in a different direction, much like you being, guided. But you decided to say no. Dropped yourself on the ground, said no, I want that. Life kept trying to tell you no, but you should be doing this and you can have this. And no, I want that. Unless I have that, there's nothing. I want nothing. I'm building nothing. I'm doing nothing. So your foundations are pretty shaky. Lack of grounding, ability to rationalize, strategize, recognize possible threats, dangers, be objective. Oh wow. And there's a tendency towards escapism, literally putting your head in the sand until you had what you wanted. I don't hear it, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to see it, nothing. You refused anything else until nature got the message and said, okay, I'm not going to send anything your way then. I get it. Self-isolation, self-restriction, and I guess it's kind of subconsciously an attempt to actually do face the fact that you may be problematic and you may not act according to your actual intentions and heart due to your inability to control certain impulses, stemming from obviously pain, which translated your ego took you for a ride. And why can't I not have it? Why can I not do this? Why can I? The upcoming change is actual determination, mental clarity, knowing what you stand, live, fight, or die for, actual purpose, a focus on a goal. So narrow is the path, as they say. It's very severe, it's very cutting, it's to the point. So you will be coming into something that is undoubtedly clear information, clear revelation. This alchemized fire is starting to make you realize, yes, it's true. I do have rights, I have agency, I have a purpose, I am relevant. My contribution is crucial, but I gotta know what I'm fighting for here, what I stand for. So it's a reminder of your foundations, principles, values. It's the things you truly believe in, what you're most aligned with, which you haven't been living by, at least in the last 4 to 5 years. Definitely 2. It's over 2 years. I can see why this 2 keeps coming up. And the room. Strategizing, but also again, self-isolation. Timing, and you just doing everything on your own here. Old woman. Not being wise at all, not heeding advice, not embracing that inner voice that was rather more mature, more was trying to, restore you. That aspect of you, it's also a fear of aging or losing opportunities. So there's a tendency to want what the youngest generation has. It's FOMO, it's fear of missing out. Hence the ego is triggered. The home. Again, you didn't work on your living environment, your situation. You definitely were unable to tend, at least not as best as you could have, based on your skills, abilities, and opportunities around you, because you were in complete disconnect. Somewhere in a room, deciding to check out altogether. Again, no socializing here. If you had a mother, most of this unaddressed shadow aspects are also to do with karma, of course, are because of course, somewhere in your infancy, right, at inception, when you arrived in the world, there were le lacune, there were serious lacks in show of affection in your youngest years. So it was buried really deep. So this had to be worked on. So lack of nurturing or genuine maternal affection, or having what you perceive to be the toxic kind of a feminine. Well, that's why we come here, you know. Each generation comes to either restore or balance something out, redeem our bloodline, or, you know, our previous version of ourselves, whether it's within mother, grandmother, etc. So we come like a hope for restoration, redemption, healing in a new form. So with a different set of skills. And so, in other words, you're not your mother. You are nearly, you know, becoming far worse than her, by the way. As someone who's been in this dichotomy at very extreme sense, the whole point was for you to feel what damage an unhealed feminine, a broken feminine can actually do. And we struggle not against flesh and blood, it's about her challenge. So she may have struggled with actual mental health. So in other words, she didn't have it well off either. Upcoming energy, starting back into service, finding reasons and pleasure in being of service to others for the pleasure of it, which absolutely will also provide a new experience for you, a sense of purpose, motivation, energy is back. It's directed, it's purposeful action, activities. It's obviously either rethinking your living space, or you're definitely back at work, basically, even if it's small tasks like, you know, cleaning, reorganizing, etc. And in some manner, this will either inspire others, or you will, through this service, whether it's a job or you're doing it in your own home, somehow it will benefit not just you, but someone else, even either someone close to you, or very beautiful. Again, you're moving into action. This is beautiful. But this also reveals the feminine, masculine dichotomy. It seems as if once you step into that space, in clear understanding of, wait a minute, what am I even doing here? There's no foundations. I'm not, what am I even working towards here? Again, you weren't working towards anything because you needed to have something at all costs. Prosperity and the gift. Yes, marriage is upcoming. Someone is about to pursue you. Strong air in their chart. They're very serious, by the way. No fooling around. They see your kind, and most importantly, your actual nature now that you're healed. Bottom of the deck is conversation in reverse. Again, not a lot of socializing. Money in reverse, not looking after your finances, overspending, not being money saving, money wise, etc., or lack of actual support, sources of income, and so on, which is kind of going to be the catalyst, because hey, I deserve better. It's true, you do, and you're always going to be granted opportunities if you want to take them. If you don't want to take them, then they're never going to be enough. No, this is not for me. No, if you take no in your arms, as we say here, it's going to be no all the way. Nature will not force you into situations unless the good of the collective is dependent on it, whether you realize it or not. As in, where you fail to fulfill your task, however small, redundant, or insignificant it may appear to you, nothing ever really is. It starts becoming a problem when it refuses to be what it is. Imagine anything in nature refusing to be what they were created to be. You know, follow along with how the cold unfolds. And anyway, the reunion. This is also courtship card. Energy coming towards you as you finally serene. You're back into a stable place, which you don't expect, absolutely don't expect. This is someone either over waters at long distances or may have to travel over waters and so on, which currently themselves feels that they've reached some form of a dead end, or they're restricted to, but they see the purpose in it. They're pondering, they're meditating, okay? They see their shackles, they see their limitation. They're processing it differently. Trying to stay hopeful and, sorrow. And not become negative and so on. They may be either younger than the feminine, or the feminine is back into that beautiful, wise energy. Oh, wow. Very beautiful person. Communication starts at a distance, either in writing or, right? And marriage. Neither of the two actually consider that this could lead, or they're not really planning towards it. It's just going to naturally happen. This is someone who's actually well respected, either in their community, dresses in their own personal style, not too out there, just very, as an individual, they're unique, true to whatever they want to express, or however best they choose to present themselves to the world, or there's some level of authenticity there, even though there's also some form of a masking or covering, or again, I don't feel they're not authentic per se, but they may have embraced an outer appearance that doesn't necessarily, is not necessarily used as a kind of defensive or deceptive. There's no intention behind it, in other words. It's someone who feels free enough to express themselves, but only to a point whereas they will not stand out too much, I guess is what. Yet at the same time, they're easily recognized as, being either a free thinker or, so yes, they appreciate how their presence may impact those around them, or what their presence may mean to society. So they bring some valuable contribution in some manner. But they're more than just what they do for work, basically. There's a different side or an identity to them. And that's how they're going to present themselves to you. Not based on what they did, who they were, where, their religion, their race. No. In other words, they're going to put the best foot forward. And again, I don't feel because that they're deceptive. It's just a natural process. They're going to pull out all the best clothes, all the best traits, the best attitude, very gentleman-like. And they definitely do not get lost in the crowd. As in, they're not easily swayed. They know who they are. There's that strong sense, I know who I am. It doesn't mean they're not without challenges, but they're not coming from that space, of the victim, the hurt, or the manipulative, or chasing per se after something specific. They're just interested. So they propose themselves by putting their best foot forward. At least communication-wise, they seem to be very direct. They're not going to waste too much time. Now, for the Libras that are still in that Karen mode over there, you know what you need to do. Work on your actual needs before any other desires, start rising, translating into a need, an obsessive thought, a painful memory. Work on your actual current needs, right? How do you stand with your finances? How is your health? How is your living space? What can you improve? What can you work on? What are your current opportunities? Maybe you're supposed to, be led away or out of something or from a place. Or the Six of Cups is a meaning of heart, is someone that you feel you've always known. There's something so natural about this encounter. And I believe your style, your personal style, somehow will reveal, even though it's surface level and it sounds so superficial, there's something either about your appearance that kind of straightforwardly reveals that it's almost as if you walked together and shared this life, this chapter, this journey, right? This cycle with one another, even though you may be across the world from one another. Then again, you know, in this, at this stage, the twins will be brought together to be complementary to one another, but there will always be something to reveal the, you know, similarity. A certain nature to them. So in this case, both the feminine and the masculine have a very simple yet elegant but unique style of, you know, dressing, or style general wise, of carrying themselves, of communicating, very respectful, very demure, yet somehow authentic, so gentle from the heart, even though it may go along with some form of being overly gentle, overly, as in so out of their age, almost as if they belong to a different era altogether. So they had a hard time finding their place. I know, go figure. Why does someone who is gentle and kind and considerate, caring and honest, why didn't they not find a place? Well, in the world as it was, And I guess it's the same for you. No place for the gentle souls. It's a dog-eat-dog world, kind of, right? So that's what you have in common. Well, a lot more than that, but you're going to discover. Just focus on how you complement one another, rather. And don't find triggers in that or reasons to determine, it's not going to work because I'm too this or I'm too. I feel that the feminine will get stuck in those eyes again. I'm too old. I've made so much. Look at what I'm coming out of. I'm terrible. I'm a mess. I'm whatever. Right? Or the other tactic, because shadow will play you both ends. You always have to have both ends covered. The other one is, what would they have to offer? How are they going to improve my existence, etc. Sometimes there's a kind of a manner of combining the two. I'm sure there's something wrong about them, because how could they love me? Seven of Pentacles, they have some ulterior motive, just a player, whatever, right? Sabotaging, whatever, accusing, being disrespectful, unbeknownst to you. In reality, it's the shadow defending its current predicament and state. Seven of Pentacles in reverse, because I'm a failure. Tower, Empress, because I'm a failure. That's what you're going to do, sisters. The Five of Swords and ghosting. Your business, but the heart is in it. For once, maybe you should start following your heart. And trust it. This is the right time. You're not going to get hurt. Again, this is not for the Karens at that stage. Just work on yourself. Actually work on yourself. Don't expect others to do it for you. It's not how it works. Yes. False perception of yourself. Accusations. Distrust. Living in the past. Toxic patterns carried out throughout old relationships and so on. But something has got to go. Something has got to change here. You know that video of the 4 Spanish moms who went on the cliff? And one of them started shouting. The other 3 looked at her. What are you doing? You do it too. Do it. None of them knew how to do it. That put it out there. All moms, right, with their burdens, and one was so trapped in this, restricting herself whereas not to harm anyone else, that she fell under this false perception of what tolerance, kindness, resilience, and self-control is, whereas she couldn't even shout. She tried to, but she couldn't. She was stuck in that, I'm the good mom. I'm never shouting. I'm always, I have myself under check. And that level of self-restriction at one point will also be called into question when change is upon you, when you need to embrace a new approach. And it doesn't mean she would have been changed. It just means that for every force or things that we choose or whomever we may think to be, there will always be an opposite one to challenge it, much like that inner redeemer, accuser kind of a dichotomy, right? Ill inclination and higher self. And in the middle, there's you, and you have to be able to, also hear your heart. If your heart is in pain, you're frustrated, some dark energy starts to insinuate itself, right? And you got to acknowledge it. Something's wrong here. I may have overgiven. I may have over-sacrificed. I may be in the Lulu land. Maybe I don't need to be or do all of this forcefully at that point, because you're forcing, you're pushing yourself into it. But if you're going to choose to do so, do it consciously and have a darn good reason why. A mother that has, for example, God forbid, a child that's going through something more challenging, or wouldn't feel that, yes, the bitterness will rise. It's there, but somehow it's always balanced out by the genuine need for care. And so there's a sacrifice of that self for the purpose of, protecting the child at all costs. For example, a child with illness, disability, or, that repressed energy sooner or later will come back to haunt her. But she's pushing through as much as possible. There is the self that calls, what about me? What about me? Why do I have to? Why? And that's absolutely natural. But again, the opposite happens here. In order to tame that self, the mother comes through and says, shut up. This is not about me. This is about him. So she will go overboard. She's willing to do anything. There's nothing like feminine in that, protective mother kind of there's nothing that she would stop at beyond her whatever physical abilities, social or economical restriction, or if she has to crawl to do something, she finds a superpower. So this feminine needs to reconnect, because we constantly had that feminine, because obviously she lacked an actual example, a genuine example, or at least subjective wise in her existence, especially when she was most vulnerable, of an actual feminine in that, matriarchal, nurturing, protective mother energy. And that's where her disconnect with nature, most of them have not even, literally touched grass in ages. They hate the wind, they hate the sun, they hate the good weather. They bitch about the bad weather. There's this disconnect, almost as if they checked out from nature altogether. They no longer feel as a part of her, of mother. So the issue with that is that, of course, there's that separation, and then there's the relationship with the archetypal masculine that we associate with the force of bestowal coming down, and hence that translates in her relationships through this disconnect from their actual genuine feelings of how they operate, where their actions may be coming from, proper interpretation of their nature or what they're trying to convey in their own manner via either actions or lack thereof, whether positive or negative, etc. So she doesn't understand where the masculine is coming from, because she herself doesn't understand herself as a feminine, where she's standing right now. What is it that I'm feeling? What is it? Especially if there's currently this is almost like a brutal, unforgiving expectation that may be placed on her, or at least she feels it, right? Almost as an attack to the feminine, as a force to try and restrict her from going overboard and harming herself, betraying herself, or becoming something that she's not. Now another force has risen, whereas expectations that may appear so high, whereas coming from a place whereas, oh, I was allowed to do what I wanted, right? I didn't have an educator, I didn't have guidelines, specific rules, and all beautifully encompassed or conveyed through the very loving and through that space of protective, nurturing, and loving mother. So whatever restrictions are, they were rather delivered in a very violent kind of a manner, even there where they lacked altogether. That's even more so violent, because it's scary to be a child and not feel you can trust any grown-up in your life, especially your caregivers. Then you grow and go through those stages of, needing that nurture, that affection, and then trying to give it yourself, but you don't know what it is because you never really received something to work with. Then you try to discover it at source, right? And then you get disappointed by not knowing whom to bestow it with, and you just do it randomly because you're literally practicing, basically, taking chances left and right. Then you get hurt enough and you decide, okay, I'm going to stop it altogether. So once the feminine is finally going into the, that queen of fires, then she's rebaptized through the waters, as in emotionally back, accepting of herself, embracing herself, etc., and no longer being conditioned by other people's projections or her own in the world. If you were to see everything just as a projection and therefore mirroring something back to you that's supposed to, lead you back within and see where it may have stemmed from, right? Example, if I take a hammer and hit the nail, I'm not going to get pissed at the nail or the hammer, right? I may, say something about it, but it's automatical for me to individuate as the cause of the pain as some force within me. I was reckless. Oh, I knew it. I felt my hand was shaking and it wasn't the right time, or I was angry. I wasn't supposed to be hitting the nail now, right? So there's that level of accountability and self-awareness, and right, which the feminine seems to be trying to do now. She's coming into it, but that's painful. And again, from this space, now the danger is that a counterforce to this will rise and the shadow will play her on. You're not good enough. Look at the mess that you've done, as she was going through the stage, right, in the lower realms. What were you even thinking, and so on. So it's still going to be the shadow. Therefore, when you finally invited, the gates open and you're invited, okay, you made it, now move on to this world. She's going to be terrified. Yes, people can get terrified by good things. So a new stage of projection happens. But if she has learned at this point that everything is passed through the filter of her own emotions, and whatever feedback she receives or how she perceives her environment at any stage, much like in a video game, automatically implies that she's supposed to conquer something over there. Giving up is not an option. She just has to remember the rules, natural laws, right? She already has them, she knows them. Not be conditioned by how anyone else plays the levels where they're at or what they do. Though remembering that whatever is relevant will be presented to you, again, much like in a video game, because the whole of the game exists in potential, right? But the only thing that will ever be relevant to you when it comes to actual progress and your experience altogether will ultimately be you, because you're going to project and move on and make those choices and fight and play the game ultimately. And it's only going to unfold to you as much as you actually progress. Otherwise, you find yourself in a loop, right? Because you cannot give up until you actually overcome the level. But sometimes what happens when you actually do defeat or conquer something that was so hard for you, like a boss battle, right? You may feel good about, oh, finally I got to level 60. But then you froze right there. So now what? Maybe you're coming close to the fulfillment of something that you only aspire to because you never felt it possible. Now you have to contend with a version of you that is nothing like what you felt yourself to be when you started. or what anyone else tried to define you as, or what you felt judged or defined by as the whole of the game, right? Almost as if it was telling you, you're never going to beat me. And there you are, sitting at level 60 and just coming into that realization, wow, I actually came this far. How did I even do it? Because you weren't actually trying to. All you were trying to do is have the experience. You acted on the natural instinct and impulse of, not giving up. And there you are. You finally mastered and conquered something. But what now? Is it going to be even harder now? Well, duh, because you got a lot better. So if you act out of this punishment and reward system or dichotomy, just remember, nature always only rewards fairly, based on actual, genuine heart, nature, willingness, and degree. In other words, doesn't matter how many times you cheat, you will still reach a level where cheating doesn't cut it. You won't be able to beat that level if you've cheated all your way through right to that point. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, I believe that some are genuinely in the depths of their own personal hells right now, fighting the ultimate dragons that they were not prepared for, or at least that's how they feel it. Either way, one may argue, but they got there nevertheless. Yes, they did, but how will they move past it? It's their dragon to defeat. Because you see, every time you sought for a shortcut, every time you betrayed yourself, you seem to have built up a monster that you weren't really prepared for. So in other words, you've fed the monster until it grew to a level where it's, unless you grow in the opposite direction of where you were moving into, for example, if you sought for shortcuts, if you were lying, now you have to move to the other extreme, whereas you're going to be absolutely brutally honest. Therefore, you conquer some virtue to the level whereas you can fight the monster that you were feeding over there. And now you're faced with. The monster is you. A version or a projection of you that you have to either tame, and much like in the strength card. You either got it or you don't. How will you tame a lion if you didn't conquer the necessary degree? If you didn't, all along walk with this lion. So basically, your virtues are always matched by your potential to do harm, and they walk hand in hand. And it's up to you to keep them in balance. Here and there, you need to find that outlet for it. You cannot deny it, you cannot try and bury it. But most importantly, under the guises of you being perfect, you cannot feed it by constantly betraying yourself. Because that's what you're doing, even though you don't realize it. In other words, there's no cheating this game. There's no cheating. Many have tried. It's the human story all throughout, but most importantly, it's a demon's or the fallen story. We're not that different after all. I guess they represent their fallen aspects and what happens when we do constantly, repeat the same cycles over and over again. So in other words, you don't get away without making some form of a sacrifice. So in order to defeat the demon, you gotta basically unalive or delete a version of yourself that's making you either not grasp the seriousness or still be in the Lulu, whereas you think you can bait that demon. No, because everything you did in order to grow that dragon to that level was not preparing you for you to ride it, tame it, master it. Quite the contrary, because you've built it in order to build a dragon to that level, whereas you cannot handle it or face it. It means that you've been feeding it through some level of either deception, escapism, lack of work on yourself, lack of discernment, cowardice, all of the vices basically. So you can only balance them with the practicing of the virtues, whatever you can. And usually you can just go with the nature of your heart. Selfless acts of kindness, etc. If you're struggling with a laziness or a spirit of slumber, small things that can help you throughout, your day. But don't be too harsh on yourself, because now the shadow will work on that. Will tell you, what's the point now? Just give it up altogether. No. You can build yourself to a level where you can face that monster, that trauma, that acceptance of something not being what you needed it or thought it to be, ability to accept something that wasn't granted unto you, and so on and so forth. Anyway, I'm sorry. Danger in reverse. You just felt, it's just going to go away on its own. Someone will come and fight it off for me. No, that's your responsibility. That's your very purpose for being here. Once you defeat it, in that very struggle, it appears as externalized, and it's external to you. So it's what I always said ever since the beginning. There's only one way to move forward. You pick whatever self you feel is working against you, whether it's raising you above others, and therefore denying your very spirit, your heart, your soul, what it truly genuinely needs. So you're still in lack and frustration. Why am I not getting it? I'm doing everything right. Look at me, I'm so amazing. Or the opposite, whereas you're beating yourself down, you're never ever victimized, always in lack. And either way, you gotta pick that and face it. There's no other way. You gotta face it, face to face, because then it's externalized by choice, by conscious choice, and it's a choice to face it. And until you do so, you don't actually truly get to know that nature, what it can do, how it can work against you, the possible repercussions of you not taming or mastering that instinct, that, right? You see it as having, for example, a disease that could spread to the community. You do feel a level of accountability for that, right? You don't want the karma for that. So you have the duty to actually come and integrate or tame whichever demons you specifically and subjectively are faced with along your journey. We're all doing it. It's what it is. Anyway. The teapot. Deep friendship with someone of the same sex. When was the last time you actually connected with your own gender first and foremost? Are you triggered by other feminines, or for the brothers, other masculines? This also tells me romantical relationship. This also means that genuinely both of them can connect in whichever energy they need to, right? Because gender, energy-wise, we're speaking about feminine, masculine. So these two can actually be genuine friends, in the sense of the feminine, as I initially sensed here for this specific group, is that they will finally get the masculine energy, because they try to manifest and work with it and be rational. They failed, and now they see that comes with its downsides as well, being overly strategic. They gave up on it altogether. They're not even trying. They weren't supposed to. They were supposed to heal their own inner feminine. And as for the masculine, they may be confronted with the same problem. I'm doing everything right. Why isn't it working? They had to also come into their masculine, however that may translate for them subjectively. They determine what kind of a masculine they're going to be, and they've sacrificed themselves and some opportunity, something, in order to embrace that masculine, right? Christ consciousness. Cultivate some virtue and stay true to their heart, their calling, themselves, right? But at the same time, that put them in that dichotomy, whereas they had to understand how does that serve the opposite, therefore the feminine. So they also learned to connect with the feminine. both in their most dysfunctional or problematic or fallen states, as much as in their light mode. So they can distinguish, discern, recognize where feminine is coming from, etc. The feminine has a tendency of, they're more skilled, let's just say, in mental and emotional manipulation. But this masculine has got it. They know the actual source of where it's stemming from. And it's the same with the feminine, no matter how masculine may appear, or ultimately they understand how the specific masculine acts, where the place where it's coming from, their intentions, their heart, their nature. So there's going to be no actual possibility or a lot of room to, project all of these strategies, these coping mechanisms, this right off the shadow. There's not going to be a lot of room, because heart to heart, that Six of Cups, there's a deep, profound, sincere, genuine connection to the point of being able to trust one another. So it doesn't matter, appearances, triggers, right? Old tactics, old behaviors, they're not going to work here, which is good. So I see them being successful, actually. The perfect friend in reverse. Even though initially she may actually be triggered, the feminine specifically, because look here, she will feel a bit uncomfortable just because someone is finally noticing them. It's like she's trying there to play the game. She got a bit used to, playing the game in such a horrible manner, whereas not even trying to anymore. And all of a sudden she seems almost ashamed by how she is being found, right? What are you even doing, Why are you fighting this dragon with a fucking rock? And she's like, I'm not. How can I help you? He asks. What do you mean, how can you help? What, you mean I'm broken? You mean I need your help? I don't need your help. What do you mean? I don't need you. Yeah. So this feminine is the opposite of the other one. Somebody come save me. Queen in trouble here. This is the opposite. I don't need you. Mind your own business. Why even looking at me? It's almost as being disturbed for being, for someone being interested in them. No, just leave me alone. Hiding. You think you're hiding, right? Until someone pops up into your own bubble over there. I see each person actually with a different frequency, so it's a whole world altogether, much like a cell. Or Archangel Raguel, 34, is that Seven of Pentacles in reverse. This shame about failure. Perfect friend in reverse. He's coming to tell you, who said you're a failure? What I see here, me like it, I like it. Very simple, very light-hearted, very natural. A meaning of heart, so beautiful. Again, the masculine with some form of an integrated or acknowledgement of the importance of the feminine. And I believe it's vice versa. She's there in the hiding, looking back, right? She's supposed to be in receptive mode, absolutely. But right now, I don't need anything. Don't want anyone. Yes, you do. I manifest the perfect state of friendship, which relentlessly is bestowed unto me by the Most High, by the Creator, and I gift it. I offer it, or not, rather bestow it, unto all of those who aspire to it. I'm an advisor full of wisdom, and I'm also a healer of the soul. You also may be triggered, because there's a version of you, sisters, that is going to be triggered by the fact, so what now? You wiser than me? What do you know? What do you want to advise me? She will feel judged. She will feel observed. But again, it has to do with her own shame and how she perceives her failure. She's failing to see what she conquered, but he does. What she paid for here. The spiritual hero, and it's an upright, and it's on 1147, adding up to 2. Archangel Michael. I am the fighter, or the warrior of divine light, which is always triumphant over the forces of darkness. I inspire courage to all those who rise against injustice and lie or deceit. I banish from your being all negativity and disturbing or uncomfortable emotions. Beautiful. Again, Karens, work on yourself. Stop being a beggar of love or entitled, spoiled brat, because you're better than that. You got it. You can do it for yourself. That's actually what you're supposed to be doing. Anyone else who's been trying and failing at it, it's because obviously you need a friend for the end of the world as we know it. An angel surrounds you with rainbow wings, here to reconnect with your true nature, the balanced, healthy, sensitive, and loving you. Oh, I'm gonna cry. Shut up. Yeah, it's not possible I got this card. Shut up over there. Remember, well, I didn't, you did. I'm still in beast mode, Karen, so yeah, but for different reasons. Remember that there is more to life than your achievements. Consciously connecting your spiritual and physical realities. Let me see. Am I even recording? Because I'm an idiot nowadays. Consciously connecting your spiritual and physical realities will help you reconnect to the sacred, infinite, and creative part of yourself that is yearning to play a greater role in your life. So you can only go so far until you actually find valid reasons, some explanations that you yourself can actually believe at this point, excuses that you can go with, motivations, and if they fail to fuel you, to become a catalyst or a good enough reason for you to feel any manner or do anything, or then just drop them, right? It's over, it's done. Even you just sitting there, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, and someone comes through and tries to tell you, let's do this instead. Like, no. At this point, it's ridiculous. Really, it's ridiculous. And it's going to be revealed to you as such. Because finally, there's someone else's intentions piercing through. Like, like being fertilized by someone else's energy. When two worlds merge, in this case, always it's water, fire and waters, and they're two natures that have to be complementary, even though they're obviously going to be opposite and antagonistic. So there's a force here. There's that force that actually makes the impossible possible. Two worlds collide and they become a third. Beautiful. Why? Why do we need another one? Okay, we get it. Okay. Death in reverse. You're gonna have to be pulled from here by your other half. This is very rare to happen. It's strictly relevant for the twins. Yes. Shalom, shalom.